Welcome to the Second Time Around podcast with LaShan and Michaela Mims, a weekly conversation about love, life, and marriage from the perspective of a couple who are taking the journey a second time around.
But I thank God in all I lost, I found you. As I give you this ring, just know you're my greatest blessing. All the good and the bad will make this love true.
Hello, and welcome back to the Second Time Around podcast. I am one of your hosts, Michaela Mims. I am a wife, I am a mama, I am a Mimi, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I am also the leading lady of Judah Fellowship Church.
Whoop, whoop. Okay.
Okay, if you haven't figured out by now that we are something special, you'll know by the end of this episode.
We try.
We do. Y'all, please allow me to introduce my awesome, incredible, super handsome co-host. Take it away, sir.
I am LaShan Mims. I am the other half.
Yes.
Other half of this duel. I am a husband, a father, a son.
Yes.
Wow. I am a grandfather.
Yes.
Which they call Papa. And I am also a pastor of Judah Fellowship Church in Elk Grove, California. So I wear a lot of different hats, but I'm sure you do too. And we want to thank you once again for being a part of the Second Time Around podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you are listening for the first time, you are in for a treat. And
yes,
if you are. And if you're a returner, we love returners. We love people to keep coming back for more. You already know what you are in store for. So thank you for dropping in. Thank you for downloading and subscribing to this wonderful podcast where we are talking about life, love, and family. Yeah. Life, love, and family. Those are some major things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so we are continuing the discussion this week of the origin story. And this one is a continuation of Sean's origin story. And we were talking about when we left off the impression that your parents made on you as a couple. And more specifically, we were talking about the type of husband that your dad was, like how he modeled being a husband for you. And I think you were saying how your dad was like, if you don't like her, you don't like me.
Right.
And if you don't like me, you don't like her.
Right.
And so let's just pick up there. Tell me a little bit more about what that means.
My dad, I really believe, just adored my mother. When we've had conversations since she passed away, and he just said, man, the Lord blessed me with the perfect person for me. She was the perfect person for me.
That's sweet.
And that was a great testament to my mother. But my father, very stern guy, didn't always understand his sternness and his different things that he would do. As I said in our previous podcast, a lot of things when you get older, then you realize, okay, I see where that could work. My wife is a marriage and family therapist, and I have also studied psychology. So I have a degree in psychology, and a little bit of why I have that degree is just to understand some things, to be able to explain some things that maybe I didn't explain, weren't able to explain in my past, in my history. And a lot of different things that I think about now, and I reflect back on that, I see, oh, okay, that's this. Oh, that's that. That's a family of origin. This different thing. But when I was a kid, I thought, man, my dad, he just does not like me at all.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of felt like that as a kid, that, man, he's on me about every single thing. But I realized later on in life that he just wanted the best for me. He wanted me to surpass what he did. And I think for my sons, I feel the same way. I want them to surpass me. I want them to experience things that I didn't experience. When I was a young man, I used to pray this prayer at night. Ooh, I'm telling my secrets. Lord, I pray that everything I don't get, that you give to my sons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So everything that I'm not able to accomplish, I pray that those that who come after me, my seed, my heritage, or those, my legacy, are able to receive the things that I've prayed about.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love it. I learn every day something new and interesting about you. Even though we have been together for as long as we have, I still appreciate the fact that it's new and it is. I turn around and I'm like, you ain't never told me that before. But I think that's great. What a wonderful prayer to pray. Lord have mercy. Pray about the children. So what do you think was the biggest gem that your parents left for you in terms of just what you wanted to bring into relationships in general?
Ooh. There's a couple of things that are going through my mind right now. Like all young people, there's a point in your life where you want to be your own person. And you want to say, well, I want to pave my own road. This road that I've been following is your road. Let me pave my own road. And we had a situation, it may come up later in our podcast, if not this season, then maybe another season. Well, there was a situation where I just clearly did not do what my parents expected me to do, what they had taught me, what they had laid down for me to do. And I was a young adult. And my dad said to me, just this simple. He said, at the end of the day, you only have one family. And when everybody else is wavering about you, your family is always going to love you. And I think that was the deepest and the most hard-hitting thing my father or my mother ever said to me. At the end of the day, all you have is your family.
All we got.
Yeah. And it spoke to not just that situation, but it spoke to everything that he and my mom were about as a couple. At the end of the day, it's just me and you. And if we don't hold it together, how do we expect others to see us? And I was like, wow, okay.
To clarify, so just us, was that just your dad and your mom, or you, your mom, your dad? Like, if we don't hold it together, who were the we in that?
I think that when we're talking about married couples, when we're talking about people who choose, two individuals who choose to come together, collaborate, maybe with kids or in marriage, you have to have a bond for you first. One of the things that I always said, I've been saying for years, is that I understand that people have families. You have children, you have daughters, you have sons, you have but if the two people who created this family are not together or not on one page, then you can't expect the rest of the family to be, because you're the large mirror that everybody looks at. You're the reflection that everybody is looking at, especially your family, especially your children. They're looking at you. What are you going to do?
True.
If my mother and father don't like each other, why should I like other people?
So they set the foundation.
They set the foundation. They set the tone for what your life is. I really, truly believe that.
That's big. That's big. So Tell me something that you think I may not know about your family in terms of just how you all lived and loved. I've heard a lot of amazing background, and I'm just curious, what's the tea on what I don't know?
I generally think that we really, the three of us, me, my mother and father, we really got along really, really good. You know, we had a good family structure. Were we perfect? No, no one's perfect. But we got along good. There was a good balance. My mother was just one of those mothers who just came along and, you know, I want to follow what my mom did and everything that she laid down. I want to take that and carry it further. My dad, everything that my parents taught me, I want to take it and carry it further. And then together we want to take it, everything that we've learned, and we're going to put it into this one young man that we have. And we're going to continue to model it and practice it. People say, well, only children are spoiled. And I don't ever remember being spoiled, even though I probably was. But I don't remember that. I remember my parents always, if you want that, we can get that for you, but this is the reason why you get that. This is the reason why we're doing that. This is the reason why this is happening. And this is the reason why I'm not going to do this. Because you need to maybe learn responsibility. Or in this place, I think I need to show you, model for you what this is. And then you'll know next time.
Interesting.
You know.
Interesting. Now, this is I think a tougher question that I'm going to ask you. And so I just want to put that out there first. What is it about marriage that you didn't see from your parents that you wish you could have had?
There's going to be pain.
Okay.
There is going to be pain. Makes me think of Kelly Price. It will rain and there's going to be pain.
Okay. If you just are tuning in and this is your first time listening to us, LaShan and I love music. And so you will probably hear quite a bit of reference towards songs. Everything is a song in our house. We'll say something and then all of a sudden we'll think of the same song or similar songs and we'll be like, that's the one. Oh, I forgot about that song. So that's so sometimes songs just spontaneously happen in our home. So I just wanted to put that out there because you're going to hear a lot of musical references. Go ahead, sweetie. I'm sorry.
I think that one thing that they shielded me from was the pain of marriage. Now, does that mean that marriage is failures or failures? No, I think the part of it that I didn't get to see because they were so good at being unified is that there's mad days, there's seasons, and there's things that come up that you just kind of have to, I'm going to deal with that this way. I'm going to deal with that way. Like I said, at this age, because of both of them being deceased, I think of a lot of different situations and I say, oh, okay. You know, not in a bad way, but in ways of saying, okay, now I understand that more. Oh, I remember that situation. Or I remember this and how my mother handled this and how my father handled this. Okay. But when I was a kid, I didn't see it like that. So I think they did not prepare me for the struggle of marriage, the give and take of marriage. I was able to see marriage ran beautifully, but wasn't able to see behind the curtain how it's run beautifully.
Right. Like the effort and the tears and the disagreements and the figuring out how to, when you do have a disagreement, to navigate back toward, right? So when I'm working with someone, you know, I talk a lot about turning toward your partner versus turning away from. And so you would have liked to have learned a little bit more about, there are going to be some rough patches.
Right.
And how do you get through the rough patches? And do you think that your parents came from a generation of, we don't show the children, or in your case, the child? I don't know why I forget sometimes that you're an only child, but we don't want Sean to see us fussing. We want him to see us together as a team and happy. So do you think that they had those pockets of time where they didn't want to show you that for whatever the reason may be?
I believe so. I believe
like
that
fight in front of the kids.
Yeah, I believe that you can only show what's inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And
ooh, that's good.
Because we have had this training, this education in psychology and counseling and all that. Now I feel like the story goes further than just my dad.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to his dad.
Right.
And it goes to his dad's
right.
dad. And all of that history is put onto the shoulders of a person and they pass on. So that's the reason why you have some people passing on joy and pain. There's sometimes people are passing on, because Frankie Beverly, I hear it. And that's why sometimes people don't know what I thought I was doing the best, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. Sometimes you hear people say, I only did what I knew how to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think that for the most part, both of my parents were only doing what was instilled inside of them to do. And I happened to get, let's mix it all together and we'll give you this. And this is what you get. So it gave me a view of love and relationships that may not have been as true as it should have been.
Okay. So
that's going deep, but
it is, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about that. You opened up the door and I'm going to ask you to cross the threshold.
Definitely. I want to give for the fellas a sports reference. In the 60s, the UCLA Bruins, they never lost. They won national championships all the time with Lou Alcindor, which we know is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I knew it was basketball. That's why you said it that way.
And they just continued to win. So during that time, Kareem, John Wooden, all these guys on this team, all they experienced was winning. But when they went to the pros, they had to go to different teams that probably did not win as much as they did in college. So if you have a culture of winning and now you have to experience a culture where winning is not guaranteed, then you go into it thinking, all I do is win. And now where do I get my win from? Because I'm from a winning culture.
Got it.
So going into relationships saying, all I do is win. I never lose. I haven't experienced, I don't know what losing looks like. But then you're partnered with a person, or you date a person, or you start with a person who may say, all I do, I've just seen losses my whole life. So I couldn't have imagined what winning looks like.
Right.
So that pretty much puts you into what relationships look like to some people, is that not saying that you're a loser,
right?
But you can be in a losing culture. You can have a losing culture that you're a part of. Doesn't necessarily make the stamp is put on you that you are a loser.
Exactly.
So when you don't know what winning looks like, then you don't know what to expect. It could be winning that the culture is producing and you're thinking, because that's looking way too close to what my life has been like. And I watched mama, or I watched daddy start out like that, but it just went to this at the end.
Wow. That was good.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try my best. I try my best.
Smart.
I want our listeners to get some really good stuff.
Well, that was really good.
Yeah.
Smart and cute. I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed.
Stop it, girl.
Sorry,
Stop it.
I digress, y'all. I'm so sorry.
Stop it.
No, but on the real, that was a great analogy. And I had a feeling you were going to go to basketball just because of how you set that up.
Mm-hmm.
And, here's another thing. Fun fact. I am a football fanatic. Now, I have my favorite team, but I love the game of football. My husband, on the other hand, is a basketball fanatic. He likes football, but he is just, man, and he's got his favorite basketball team, but he is a basketball fan. So a lot of stuff he may share and a lot of stuff so this is what he does. In order to help me understand basketball, he'll give it to me in football terms. And it's really, really funny. And then I'm like, oh, I get it. Because I grew up with football. Hashtag Niners. Anyway,
You had to put that in there.
I sure did.
You had to plug.
I sure
had to plug
did.
those Niners.
I sure did. Those are my fellas. So back on track. I wanted to also ask you a little bit about, I don't think you were expecting me to go here, but I would love to hear a little bit about your grandparents. And I think that in order to understand like where your mom came from and your dad, it would be important because you had the benefit of having grandparents that were also, married, until one of them went to be with Jesus. So can you tell us a little bit about your grandparents and what you learned from them?
Wow.
I know.
My mother's parents, two of the most incredible people I've ever met. Not because they're my grandparents, but because of just people. I am the oldest grandchild. So coming in, I was like their first baby, their first everything that they did for me. Only was the experiment for the other ones. That's how we talk about it when they were alive. My grandfather would say, "You my number one grandboy," So everything that they did as new grandparents, both of my grandparents are from Texas, and my grandfather, way back when, I'm going to say in the 40s, came from a place called Shelbyville, Texas, and came to San Francisco, California. He came to find a job. Him and his brother together, his older brother, came together to San Francisco to find work. They found work in the Bayview shipyard. There goes the area that we grew up in, Bayview. They had this shipyard where African Americans from different states came to settle in California there, get a job, get a house, boom, send for your family. So when my grandmother was 19 years old, she had 3 kids. And she took a trip from Shelbyville, Texas. She says Center. I'm going to say Center then. So Center, Texas. And she catches the train with 3 children.
Wow.
3 small children to California. She had never been out of the state of Texas before. She'd never left the area that she stayed in. She went by herself with her children. She told me the story that she had ran out of food for her children, and this was quite a long trip. And so she said, "I'm just a girl. I don't know what to ask for or how to ask for. I'm taught to, definitely in that time,
right.
I'm taught not to ask for anything, just to mind your business." And so she said, "But my kids were hungry and I didn't know what to do." But as the story goes, she was able to find food. People helped her on the way there, and they moved to San Francisco and did some tremendous stuff.
Wow.
Really helped some people along the way that now are influential people.
Right.
Very interesting. My grandparents went to a church where the pastor did not know him. Him and his wife were newly married. They were newlyweds and they needed a place to stay. And my grandparents had an apartment that had a in-law suite. And my grandfather, not pre-saved, let's use that word, pre-saved, said that he thought the young man was a really good man. And so he allowed him to stay in the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 30 years later, 35 years later, that person ends up being his pastor. And he didn't know that.
Ain't that something?
That's pretty.
What else did that person do for us?
That pastor also, he married my parents and also prayed over us. He did the prayer at our wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So incredible.
Absolutely.
Incredible.
Absolutely.
But my grandparents were really good. I stayed with them like most grandchildren do during this season in time.
Mm-hmm.
I lived with them for about 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the best 7 years of my life. It changed my life. I had a lot of freedom, but it changed my life because I was able to see where my mother got her strength from.
Wow.
You know, my grandmother was a man, just incredible. One of the most incredible. I keep saying that. I keep saying incredible because I've never met another person with, she always kept it 5. You know, she never went to 10. She never went below 5. She just kept it at 5. Even if she was upset, it was 5. So she, you know, I remember being still in my teens and testing my freedom, let's say that, quite a bit. And I would come home and my grandmother would be on her knees praying. And I would be, I don't know what was wrong with me, y'all. I would say, Grandma, why you in here praying? And my grandma, just like I said, why are you in here praying? She said, because you ain't home.
That part. And
she said, I can't go to bed until you get here. So this is what we do.
That's right.
And as soon as I would come in, she'd turn the lights out and be like, good night. You know, so
that's amazing.
Just an incredible person. And
that's amazing.
My grandfather, like I said, was pre-saved for the majority of my time until I got to be probably like a senior in high school. Then he got saved. But he was the greatest grandpa, would give me anything I want. You know, I told my wife one time, I said, Grandpa, I'm just trying to stretch my boundaries. So I said, Grandpa, I want a car. And my grandfather said, sure, let's go get it. And I said, are you serious? He said, I'm serious. And I said, okay, this is the car I want. And he said, okay, let's go. And so he said, but wait a minute, before we go, let me tell you this. He said, once we get this car, you're going to be able to pay for it? And I was like, yeah, I think so. He said, well, if you're not able to pay for it, then I don't know if we should get it. But if you can pay for it, we getting it. It's like, okay, I can get it. I can pay for it. And he was like, all right. So, needless to say, I had to think that over. But he would get me anything I wanted.
That's awesome. What about your dad's parents?
My dad's parents, incredible. My dad's father was a military person, military man also, but he dealt in radios and electronics. And he would always, you know, he had this very deep voice and he would, you know, do radio broadcasts and this is Roger Mims and I'm coming to you, you know. Yeah. So he would do all this great stuff and very, very funny guy. We would play checkers all the time and Grandpa Mims would show me. I was a checker master because he would show me how to play. This is this, and this is the double jump. This is how you king me. And we would do all these things. And so we had a really great time. And he sung. So he had a very big, like I said, baritone voice that he would sing. And it was really good. And my grandmother worked at a university as a caterer. So she worked in the kitchen staff.
So Grandma Mims was a caterer. Grandma Bolton was a baker.
Right. So
spoiled. Yeah, you were.
And here's a tidbit. This is an extra tidbit for you.
Bonus.
My mother's father's sister worked with my grandmother at the university. So
Grandpa Bolton's sister worked with Grandma Mims.
Right.
Okay.
And they were really good friends.
Really?
Yeah. And so my grandmother worked in the kitchen staff, and she was an excellent cook, excellent caterer. You know, holidays were like nothing else. She would put everything together. Silverware would be on the table, and there would be all these great things, and she would do designs with the fruit and all kind of things. She was incredible with food.
Mm-hmm.
I thought she should have a business because she was really incredible. And so I had an uncle that always wanted to help her cook.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then from him, I was like, I want to be a chef because they do this so well,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And later, that's something else. That's something else. But they were really good. And my grandmother used to always, when we would talk or we would laugh, she would always like laugh my name. So she would go, oh, Sean, you know, to everything. And it would just be funny because she would just, you know, and I would think like, wow, real big impression on my life. Real big impression. Both of them. Just wonderful, just different ways.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Different ways.
Well, I think it's amazing that you had the gift of having not only your mother and father, but also maternal and paternal grandparents, so that you were able to see even generationally how different marriage is from one place or one generation to the next. So I think that that is a tremendous blessing, and it is in contrast really to what I saw and didn't see. So that's a dynamic that I don't know a lot about. And so to hear about it is really thrilling to me, especially because for a lot of us in the community, we haven't always had those examples, and or the expectation is that we get married, but we don't stay married, right? Like your family debunks those myths and stereotypes because, I mean, you have aunts and uncles that have been married for longer than you've been alive, right? And so it's incredible to me that you have had this rich history of a family that did marriage, and they did it in a different generation than you and I have. And so because of that, we've had different experiences, but I'm excited. Well, I want to say thank you to you, sir, for
you are welcome.
Part 2 of your story. And even in this episode, I learned a couple of things about your family that I did not know. I did have the privilege to meet your grandma Bolton and your grandpa Bolton and your grandpa Mims and your dad. I didn't have the privilege of meeting Grandma Mims or your mom. However, I am so grateful to all of them for how they shaped you and molded you, and just, I think, amazing people. So, you know, love me some Grandma Bolton, just, man, superhero in my eyes. So
definitely.
We are actually coming to the close of this particular episode. I cannot believe that we are here at the end of episode 2 of the Second Time Around podcast. It has been a joy hanging out with you, sir. Would you like to share with the good people how they can reach us if they have questions or if they want to share their story? Doesn't matter if you're married, you're single, second marriage, third marriage. We want to hear from you. Can you
definitely
help us with that?
Our email address is the number 2 X Judah in the Grove, at Judah in the Grove. So it is second time
right
at Judah in the Grove
.com.
Yes. So remember that. 2x at judahinthegrove.com. We are taking all questions.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a question, actually. It can be a victory report. It can be, we just like what you're doing.
Right.
Just something. It can be encouragement. It can be anything. We look forward to everything that you put there.
We look forward to catching up with you all next time. And until then, we pray you are happy, healthy, and that you thrive.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to continuing the conversation with you in our next episode.